Hello, peeps. Welcome to the Culture and People cast. Today we have an old friend of mine, Amy Douglas. Oh my gosh, it's been too long. It's so good to see you. And
I'm so excited to catch up with you, Anna. You're one of my favorite people.
I'm so excited for the audience to be able to have access to you because you taught me a lot in the time that we were able to work together, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say to the audience. So,
Oh, no pressure. I have to. I
oh,
have to teach.
you can do it in your sleep. So,
Oh,
in a
at
few
this age, I
sentences,
might be sleeping. So,
yeah, right. So let's start here. In a few sentences, could you tell us who you are and what you do?
oh yeah. So Amy Douglas. I am, you know, I am someone who helps people thrive,
Yeah.
and I've spent my whole career doing that in various forms. It is what gets me out of bed every morning to sort of coach and develop others and help them see and unleash their potential. And so right now, formally, I'm the Chief of Culture and Connection at Levada Human Performance. We are a social benefit firm, and we focus from an advisory perspective on working with organizations, leaders, and teams to elevate their people. Levada stands for lifting others up. And so we do fantastic work in service of others and then in service of the community. And it's really fulfilling. And so it's really nice to be in that position.
Yes. And is that, for our listeners, is that sort of how you define the social benefit firm, right? That you are contributing not only from a business perspective, but from a humanity perspective.
Well, we actually define it in multiple ways. So absolutely about creating connection in the culture and in humanity. But we also, we are set up to be a B Corp, and we actually take a very specific part of our margin and put it into what we call the Pay It Forward account. It is then used so that our employees can do pro bono and at cost work for nonprofits.
Oh,
In the community, in addition to, and so the connection factor is awesome to be able to have, a thank you note going from a nonprofit executive director to one of the organizations that we serve, thanking them for, hey, because you're doing work with Levada, my team was able to get these services on a major transition we are going through, or we were able to get our leaders into coaching, and it wouldn't have been something as a nonprofit we could have afforded in the past. So.
yeah. Oh, I love that. I'm definitely not as large, but just personally with my own company over the past 5 years have been working to make sure that I'm giving a certain percentage of my time away to nonprofits. And we need to do that, right? That I love that you call it the Pay It Forward Fund. Like we've got to lift that up. And so when I'm helping someone else, it's just like you helped me, right? Amy, you were a consultant, came in when I was working in a corporate organization, and you set such a good example for me. I think we just have to keep paying it forward, both in time and in money. So I appreciate you guys doing that. So Amy,
Excellent.
when you look at this whole ball of culture and people work, right?
Oh.
It's a big ball of work, right? But what is your favorite aspect of that type of work?
Oh goodness. For me, it's about the ripple impact.
Yeah.
Uh, when I get to either do work with a leader and I help them, you know, gain insight and thrive, they show up differently in their lives, both personally and professionally. And that has a tremendous impact then on everybody they're connected to. Same thing with teams and organizations going through large transitions. The ripple impact of one moment of our work gets to sort of exponentially pay that forward to others. And so that's the part that I love, is to see the ripple
Yeah.
of when that's done well, and how to help people keep thriving in their own professional and personal circumstances. And I think that
Yeah.
looks different for each person, and helping them be authentically connected to what that is really important to us and to
Yeah.
the work that I get to do. So it's so much fun. Sometimes it's too much fun. Like, my own family's like, hello. Don't forget, we need to be developed and coached too, mom. Come on off the computer, please.
Instead of the cobbler's kids with no shoes, you're the consultant's kids with no
Oh
help.
my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. I have to be very purposeful about my boundaries and
Yeah.
investing there too. Right. And so, and it's easy to just say, oh, someone needs help. Okay, well, let me just, I'll squeeze that in or I'll move this. And then I'm like, oops. So,
Oh,
we're always in a process of being beautifully messy and self-correcting.
that's right. Self-correcting, right? Yes, I love that. So I'm hearing from a lot of leaders. I've been having a lot of conversations on this show and offline about just engaging talent. And sometimes it's a challenge. What are your thoughts on that?
It's so funny because I think about that a little differently. And the insight personally I have seen at Lavada has completely shifted that challenge for me. We run an organization where we are really about self-directed teams, and it's people first organization. And engagement isn't the issue because we actually focused on the invite. In fact, we just had an open chair strategy meeting where we said, open chair, please show up if you want. What part of this do you want to do? How do we form the strategy for our next several years? And oh my gosh, the engagement levels are off the charts, right? So
Nice.
actually, the challenge flips on us, and it's more about how do I stay connected and provide the support underneath so that you can go after and seize all these opportunities and make these differences.
Mhm.
So how do we put the right tools and information in your hands, and how do we, and so it's more about like how quickly can I adjust to get that support out there and be fluid about it so that you get to do what you were meant to do. And so we don't, it's an interesting flip of the coin. I do think we are designed as a virtual organization. We'll never have a corporate headquarters, and so that connection piece, though, is so very important. And especially, I know a lot of people are struggling with virtual work. And even those of us that are really adapted to it have moments where we struggle because we're human beings. We want to
Yeah,
connect.
right.
And so we are constantly focused on how can we be distant but not disconnected?
Mm.
And so that's our piece that we're always looking at. And that's informed from our individuals, from the teams, and it has a collective responsibility to that. And we have to keep evolving as we grow and as things shift, and we have to help support the individual's experience there because everybody is different in what it means to work virtually, and
Mhm.
also then continue to evolve the collective ways that we do that. So
Yeah.
that's how we think about the challenge of engagement. It's more about how fast can I support and how do I stay connected?
Right. And that is the difference. When I first started leading high performers or had access to high performers and really helped my employees become high performers, when you first start like getting that groove, you're like, oh my gosh, this is challenging, but it isn't hard, right? Like it literally is about, I don't have to tell them how to do their job. I'm here to provide the resources, support, and encouragement that they deserve. And so, yes,
Yes.
do you need to do a little of this and a little of that and a little throwing things over when they need it? Yes, but it's so much more worth it than the
Oh,
average Joe of only, a third of our workforce truly being engaged and performing in their work. Like we can do better. We can do
yeah.
better as organizations. So let's get really tactical, Amy. You're talking about a self-directed team. Obviously working virtual during normal times slightly different than during COVID, but what are some tactical tips that you have for the leader or the organization or even the employee out there who says, I want to do more, I want to contribute more to my culture, I want to contribute more to the people operations in my organization? What can they do?
Oh, so these are great tactics. So let's think about that. So one of the things that we do is I really think first it's listen,
Mm,
right? Because if you need to, you actually have to understand like where is the need, and if you're not listening for the need, then you can't adjust. And then you're sort of managing and controlling, not actually listening for where the need is. I also think that it's about the invite, like inviting people to the table, no matter what position they're in, and then telling them it's okay to not know the answer. Because it's intimidating for employees to say, hey, by the way, help us shape this. And they're like, what the hell? I've never done that before. And
mhm.
then to say whatever you say is going to go somewhere. Let's just start throwing stuff out there, right? And allow that to move and flow. And so it's about the invite and the okay to be vulnerable and not have it perfect, and to be beautifully messy. And I like to model that personally on a daily basis. Although I do have my hair washed today, so I'm feeling better about that.
Me too.
Yeah. Yes, you encouraged me to get my hair washed, Anna, because I was like, okay, it's been a really long week, but I do actually am getting on video. I must actually probably have washed my hair this morning.
Yeah, no, and
So,
I think that advice, the listen and find the need, I want to go a little deeper on that, because this isn't just about asking one time, right? I always give the example at every one-on-one that I have with my team. I say, what could I be doing better or differently for you? And I ask it every time. And I'm expecting to hear answers because I know I'm imperfect, right? So now we've created this open thing, but I need to keep asking it. And when we're asking how people are doing or how their work is going, we need to keep asking that.
yes,
So how do you guys do
absolutely.
that from an adjustment standpoint or frequency standpoint? What's your approach to listening?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's really lovely. One, I use the language specifically, like, how can I help?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we might actually insert help where they don't need it.
Right. Like, I
you
just
know,
wanted you to know this is happening
yeah,
instead of,
I want to be supportive. Don't you need this? And they're like, "Oh, I didn't really need that," but they're very, they're trying to be respectful, and they're like, God, get out of my way, boss, right? And so I always ask, how can I help? What do you need? And then the other piece, we do a couple of different things. So we leverage online tools. We run almost our entire company in Monday.com,
me too.
which, fun. We
Great tool.
built, it's so much fun to be able to help the team collaborate and contribute and go where they need to go, but allow that sort of asynchronous communication to go on, and still keep us connected to each other's work, and to be able to, it's the best part of sort of project management, operations management, and social connection all together in one technology platform. So we absolutely invest in multiple tools like that, Miro, whiteboarding, and all of the fun things. We really want to connect personally. So we make sure that we're rotating around and actually just having fun. It might be, let's do a virtual coffee. Let's have a happy hour.
Mhm.
Um, and then when we can actually get us all together, of course, we enjoy our face-to-face or in-person interactions. We're on video all day long.
Yeah.
So working virtually, there's rarely a telephone call. It's almost all video so that we can see each other.
Mhm.
And we encourage our employees to take breaks from that, because you have to walk away from the Zoom. I mean, Zoom fatigue is a real thing, and being online all day is a real thing. And you have to be able to figure out, I call them with our employees, I'm working on these flourish sessions
Mhm.
where we can talk about, like, individually, what do you need to continue to sustain your success here when it comes to working remote, especially virtually. And so one of the things that people lost in the pandemic, especially as they moved out of offices that they were used to being around, is transition vessels. So we used to have ways that we transitioned in and out of work,
Okay.
right? And it might have been a car, it could have been a walk to work, it could have been a bicycle, it could have been
Yes.
train, a subway. But in those vessels, we did something that helped us transition.
Hmm.
And when you're at home working, there's no transition unless you put it in. So
Mm.
how do you build transition vessels into your schedule that allow you to sort of transition in and out of work and have work and life integrated? I'm actually a big believer that there is no such thing as work-life balance, but it is possible to create work-life integration that
Yeah.
works for each individual.
Yeah.
So we want to do that, and we follow up individually with folks as well as collectively to share what's working for each other. We do conscious connections meetings where we're really all together, and we are creating in those. Our goal is those are the moments where we want to throw out something, usually informed by our employees, saying, what is it that you want to talk about? What should we connect on? And then let's create together
Mm.
in those connection moments. And so that's super fun. And then the other thing I'd say is we're really radically transparent. So um, the other tip is, obviously we use tools to stay connected virtually, because, if you're going to be virtual, you cannot run a company on email and Word documents. It does not work. It's way too painful.
Mm.
But at the same time, it's more about the work that we do together and being radically transparent with information is so important, right? And so we throw everything out there with the exception of somebody's actual pay. Other than that, you can see it all, open book. And it actually leads to really amazing conversations, not difficult ones. And so it's always easy to default to fear.
Mhm.
But if you actually play off of values instead, what's important to you,
Yeah.
what you were afraid of doesn't come to pass. And so it's radically tran- transparent, radically transparent information. I can't even do it, and I'm dying here.
Radical
But
transparency. How's that?
radical transparency, yes. And then our staff is very our colleagues and stuff, they're very appreciative of the fact that I can't usually speak after a couple of moments. And so then they're like, okay, Amy, just go on mute. So, but yes, so we use those pieces. Yeah, and I think, there's lots of tools and tips I could share, but those are the ones that seem to be like the most giving
Yeah. And you know
to
what I
everyone.
love about the three things that you shared? Flourish. Now I'm going to flourish sessions, conscious connections, and radical transparency. It might seem, I don't know, frou-frou to give them these names, right? Some people, I remember, like, I'm like, let's call it the wow instead of one-on-one. Let's call it our working on winning meeting. I remember talking about that. Everybody was like, get the eye rolls. But the thing is especially from leaders and also the employees who participate, when you call them something like flourish sessions, tough one for me. I used to have a list when I was little with S's, so I get really like
Oh,
what happens is we're setting the tone. Like, this is why we're gathering. So we're like getting to the root of why we're gathering. This is not
yes.
all tactical updates. This is not something you could put in an email. This is really thinking about how you can thrive, flourish, whatever word you want to attach to that. So those are great tactical examples, Amy. I appreciate those.
Yes. Well, I'm happy to share. And that this is fun to watch and learn from everyone. I think it's fantastic that you're doing podcasts like these with different organizations and the community because, everyone has something that you can learn from. And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
I'm glad you found a little value there. Hopefully, the rest of it wasn't so boring to everybody, but I love the fact that you're doing this, Anna, to like really
Oh,
promote that learning and sharing.
yeah. So great, Amy. Thank you for your wisdom and thank you for all you're doing with culture and people in the world of work. I think you're awesome as always.
Well, we'll see you soon.
Yes, for sure.